Shooting fans, stay tuned for the World Speed Shooting Championship for 1999 in the shooting version of drag racing, the Steel Challenge. Plus, the British muzzleloader from the Civil War that gave Confederate snipers deadly accuracy. And Bob Munden is planning on scrambled eggs at 100 yards. It's all today here on American Shooter.
American Shooter is brought to you by Colt and the new Colt XS series. If it isn't a Colt, it's just a copy. And by Simmons, Rifle Scope Headquarters.
Five shots. If you need six, you're losing. Welcome to this edition of American Shooter. I'm Jim Scouten, and the rules are simple. Draw and shoot 5 steel targets, while the electronic timers record your speed to the 100th of a second. It's the fastest action handgun game of all, the Steel Challenge. It is the 15th time the barren hills near Lake Piru, north of Los Angeles, have sprouted tents and sponsor banners as the top shooters contend for the World Speed Shooting Championship. Originally conceived nearly 20 years ago by Mike Dalton and Mike Fishman as the ultimate test of handgun speed and the ultimate treat for spectators and shooters.
It's not only for the shooters, but spectators, media. Everyone knows immediately what the score is. The success of the shooter, letting it all hang out. Your score is your time, and we put it right to the edge. They let it all go.
The 7 stages of fire are both the same and very different. The same in that each has 5 plates to hit with the stop plate wired to stop the clock. But each is a unique challenge, like Outer Limits, with 2 shooting boxes and targets set at 25 and 40 yards. This one separates the winners from the also-ran.
Yeah, absolutely. The guys who are like your good Bianchi shooters as well, those guys have really good technical skills, and 5 to go is another one that really separates the shooters in that realm, because any little bit of trigger error shows up so much here.
5 to go is 4 12-inch plates set going away from you, but with the stop plate close at the right. It's easy to try too hard.
A number of shooters go in there and don't really shoot anywhere near as well as they could have, just because they just really let the mental pressure of trying to go too fast get to them.
Stand by.
This is a gun-neutral game where a revolver is equally capable. As you would expect, Jerry Micklick had his working for an unquestioned win in the revolver class, while finishing 8th overall for the match. But there's even a single-action class, with Leilani Clark taking the top woman's title. She's better known as Island Girl for her top female win at End of Trail. And there's an IDPA class for steel, hotly contested by the 2 top IDPA shooters. This is Tom Yost with his Smith & Wesson, and here's Ernst Langdon from Beretta as they finish the class just as they did the IDPA Winter Nationals, with Ernst edging Tom by less than half a second. For juniors, this was the year of daughters and dads, with 14-year-old Chelsea Mukon competing with her Bianchi gun, along with her dad, their first try at steel competition. And the French-speaking father-daughter team of Guy and Sandy Destate. He was originally an IPSC shooter in his native Belgium. Sandy's a citizen. She was born here and pretty much born into shooting. And then 14-year-old Jennifer Lohr with her stepdad, and proud to be involved. Did you tell your friends that you go out and shoot?
Yeah, actually I do. This weekend, some of my friends wanted to get together and do something. I said, I can't. I'm going to Steel Challenge. Like, what's the Steel Challenge? I'm like, it's the shooting sports, you know? Everyone from all over the world comes to see how fast they can go.
What did your friends say to that?
They're like, cool, good luck.
And while we're talking fast, remember Casey Eusebio from last year? He's faster now at age 11, winning the preteen category without question as he shot his way to an 11th place finish overall for the match. But it's the best of the pro shooters in the open class who are the show. In the early going, it figured to be a contest between Michael Voigt.
So far, so good.
And Rob Latham, who won this event in 1985. And Rob looked even more like the man to beat, showing some very fast times on Smokin' Hope, the fastest stage of all, with the 4 large rectangles just 7 yards away. But the deciding stage would be outer limits with those distant plates. Doug Koenig was absolutely under control while posting the fastest time for the match on the most dangerous stage.
Very dangerous. Most dangerous one in the match. I just wanted to start out a little conservative, make sure I hit the targets. And the way I try to shoot the match is kind of build a score is what I think in my mind. You know, start out a little conservative and just kind of let it happen.
Whatever plan Rob Latham had wasn't working. Those extra rounds were costing too much time and costing the match.
This is a difficult stage for me, and I knew Doug had a good run, and it wasn't going to be a position where I could give anything up. So I kept pushing, and that doesn't ever work. And it didn't today either.
It wouldn't be decided until Doug had his runs on Smokin' Hope, which were not the fastest of the match, but highly consistent.
Stand by!
And then his final stage, speed option, posting the second best time just behind Rob, but winning the cup and the title with the lowest total time for 7 stages of steel. What's the magic in this match? Is it control? You look real controlled this whole time.
For me, I'd say just doing what I can do and not worrying about anybody else and just do the runs, you know, consistency. Not try to push. You know, for me, the key is the first run, to do it well. And, you know, even though I've screwed up some of those, but just kind of try to build on it and let it go.
Congratulations to Doug Koenig. You've seen him win before, but never the Steel Challenge until this year. He was enjoying this one a lot. But there's still more. The team shoot-off next that Mike and Mike have designed to be an even bigger crowd pleaser.
For more on American Shooter, check us out online at americanshooter.com.
When it comes to a crowd-pleasing event, the Steel Challenge has few equals. But then the action gets twice as hot after the champion is decided when you get a partner for the shoot-off. It's entertainment for the crowd, with pride and money at stake for the shooters, as Mike and Mike designed their shoot-off to be twice as entertaining as any other, with the top 32 finishers paired in teams. The most formidable numbers 1 and 2, Doug Koenig and Rob Latham, and then the 3rd and 4th finishers, Michael Voigt and Chad Dietrich. The range was set with 10 targets on each side for each team to handle before shooting the stop plate over the Tasco banner. And the match finishing order made up some interesting combinations, like Frank Cruz Jr., a former junior champion, and Casey Eusebio. They were the 10th and 11th place finishers this year who had no trouble moving up the ladder until they ran up against Doug and Rob.
On the left, 3.39.
No question, these guys are the future, but the future isn't here yet. Then a home-wrecking matchup that had numbers 25 and 26, Kay Micklick and Ted Bonnet, going against 7 and 8, Keith Holland and Jerry Micklick. That came out as expected.
Very, very close. On the right with a 4.20 compared to a 4.34. Team of Jerry Micklick, Keith Holland.
But may not have been Jerry's best decision choosing his skill over his home run.
You see what I get?
In the finals, it would be the best 4 out of 7 runs, and this year there were no surprises getting to it, with Chad Dietrich and Michael Voigt going toe-to-toe with Doug Koenig and Rob Latham. Teams so evenly matched it went to 3 apiece, with as little as 1/100th of a second between sides. The 7th run would decide it.
Stand by. On the left, 3.64, 4.24, Doug Koenig, Rob Latham.
For a little money, a lot of pride, and lots of entertainment, just as Mike Dalton and Mike Fishman intended. So, you getting into the idea of shooting steel? Well, Mike and Mike are about to make that possible with affiliated clubs across the country and a series of regional matches planned for next year. Coming up, the Confederate rifle used like artillery, the Whitworth. And later, a close look at your custom steel gun in Gun Tech. History records all kinds of experiments in the search for more accurate firepower. This one would turn out to be a footnote in the development of rifling and long-range accuracy. The Whitworth, with its six-sided bullet and matching barrel, would not be the future. But it would be a deadly accurate solution for the Confederacy during the Civil War.
Great guns. Brought to you by Ruger, arms makers for responsible sportsmen.
Entering the Civil War, Union sharpshooters were equipped with some of the finest arms of the day, including Colt's revolving rifle and many variations of the long-range sharps. But the poorly equipped Confederacy was forced to turn to foreign sources, purchasing a new rifle built by London-based mechanical engineer Sir Joseph Whitworth. Once in the hands of Southern snipers, the superior accuracy of their new rifle quickly became apparent.
The Whitworth allowed its user to be deadly up to 1,500 yards, and there are many reports of consistent fatalities at 1,500 yards.
Whitworth's potent creation was the most accurate rifle of its day because of its unique bullet, bore, and construction. Its six-sided 45 caliber bullet was called a bolt. It was fired through a 33-inch hexagonal bore that created stable bullet spin. Another innovation came from Whitworth's use of molten steel to make the barrels rather than traditional drilling and rifling of barrel blanks.
The ability to cast under pressure the metal and in making the barrel eliminated a lot of the problems that were in the predecessors to the Whitworth, and as a result of that, brought about accuracy that had just not been seen before.
With a standard sight, the Whitworth could produce amazing groups at 500 yards as early as 1861, especially when compared to an Enfield firing round balls. The Whitworth's group is in black. In 1863, the British Army requested samples from Whitworth. 1 year later, he delivered part of an 8,000-gun production run for testing. But due to heavy fouling after just a few shots, the guns were not adopted. The small number of Whitworths purchased by the Confederacy came from this original order. Confederate sharpshooters avoided the fouling problem by cleaning the bore after each shot. The extraordinary range of the Whitworth was an equalizer for the South that lacked the numerous big guns of the Union artillery. The Whitworth had the same range as cannons, and with its better accuracy was actually used like field artillery. One shot would become legendary. During a battle in Virginia, Union Major General John Sedgwick was scolding his men for hiding from Confederate snipers, saying they couldn't hit an elephant at this distance. At that moment, a round from a Confederate Whitworth proved the general wrong, hitting him in the head and killing him. But even before the end of the war, the Whitworth was already being displaced by new rifled breechloaders. Though never widely adopted by any nation's army, for a brief moment, Sir Joseph Whitworth's better idea of the day was, for a time, an equalizer on the battlefield, providing modern-day accuracy in the age of the muzzleloader.
American Shooter presents Gun Tech, the latest in guns and shooting gear.
So we got you all excited about steel shooting, huh? Well, you're gonna need a gun, and you can't do better than this one. This is a distinguished model full custom steel gun from the Springfield Custom Shop. It's a single stack frame with grips from R&W, and the slide looks like Swiss cheese, drilled and cut away everywhere possible for the fastest lock time and reduced recoil. It's a race gun, no question, chambered in .38 Super and set up for subsonic loads that are preferred in steel shooting. And on top, the new Aimpoint Comp XD, which I think means extra dot, because this new model comes with a 7 or 10 MOA red dot that's bright enough to read by. See it? The Aimpoint sells for just over $300. The Springfield is built to your specs. This one is about $3,000. Now, you need a holster, and this one is the choice of the pros like Rob Latham and Todd Jarrett. This is Safariland's 011 competition holster, skeletonized in permanently formed kydex and fully adjustable not only for position and draw, but also for barrel length. So if you're shooting steel with one gun and a short compensator, it'll fit. And so your IPSC limited gun and your open class gun with the huge compensator. So one holster for all sports, very fast, very professional, at about $160 from Safariland. Now here is another brainstorm from those creative Hogue brothers. Their competition holster, the Power Speed model. This thing holds the gun before the draw with magnets. There's a locking mechanism that pins the gun through the trigger guard until it's time for your run, but release it and the gun just sits there before the start buzzer. And your draw stroke comes straight out with no interference. It's new, the Power Speed from Hogue, for about $120. And that's Gun Tech. And next, Bob Munden has switched from a balloon to something smaller for the Shot of the Week.
American Shooter is brought to you by Smith & Wesson, the world's largest manufacturer of handguns for sporting, law enforcement, and military use since 1852. And by Federal Ammunition, Federal Knockdown Power.
If you saw our special on exhibition shooting a couple of weeks ago, you remember Bob Munden said he'd try shooting an egg at 100 yards? Well, guess what? Today's the day.
Now we just took out 6, and that's a familiar kind of shooting. We've seen it many times over the years. What do you say we stand one of those targets up though and see how many targets we can put, or how many shots, pardon me, that we can put on that target before it hits the ground? Let's give it a try. Now I'm firing the gun as fast as it'll go. Mechanically it will not function any faster. Well, there's 5 shots on the target and 2 barely missed it. Son of a gun. In any case, what do you say we go with 2 .45 auto Kimbers and work on 6 targets at the same time, left and right-handed? Ooh, this ought to be fun. Let's give it a try. Now both sides of the brains are working at one time. And when you only got one side of the brain working all the time, it's hard to make 2 guns work right when you got a half a brain like I do. Boy, that's a lot of blazing away, isn't it? All right, we put the Kimber guns through a test of speed and helter-skelter in reference to shooting. What do you say we do something really far out? Yeah, far out. I promise you a long shot, you're gonna get it. And I mean a long shot. On my target, yep, it's exactly what it looks like, a raw egg. And would you believe, 100 yards away. How many shots do I get on this one? How much ammunition do I have with me? Let's give it a try. I bought the jumbo size. I wanted the edge. I asked them if they had ostrich eggs. They didn't have one in stock. I said, how about emus? So I had to settle for chicken eggs, and there we are. There you go. An egg at 100 yards with a 45 ACP bullet, Federal Factory, 230 match ball. Okay, it was match. I had an edge. You think that's easy? You try it. Bob Munden here. See you next time.
Bob, with that shot, you deserve all the help you can get. Now, here's what we're doing for next week. It'll be the battle of the Grand Masters in practical shooting. It's the USPSA Open Nationals with the championship on the line. Plus, the first of the breech-loading carbines that changed the future of warfare, the Smith in Great Guns. And Bob Munden will be checking out the caliber of a Coke bottle with his .45. For American Shooter, I'm Jim Scout, and I'll see you then. In the meantime, shoot safely and keep them in the 10 ring.